I call this meeting to order. Let's stand for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can we have roll call, please, Ms. Becker?
Madam Mayor. Mayor Bachman.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Knudsen.
Here.
Trustee Smith.
Here.
Trustee Valentine.
Here.
Trustee Stelter.
Here.
Trustee McKinnis.
Present.
Trustee Schwartz.
Here, I'm gonna give that to you.
And they're rebellious.
I'm gonna need my mallet for more than just opening and closing a meeting tonight. All right, next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
Like to move the agenda is posted.
Second,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion passes. Next up is announcements, and I do have a announcement, which at least in my book and for the town is a wonderful thing. The Gunnison Outdoor Resources Protection Act, or GORE, has been signed by the Delta County Commissioners and now will move forward to Congress. This will take mineral leasing off the table for the North Fork Valley and the cycling, which is truly amazing. And the fact that the commissioners signed it is just phenomenal. Yeah, I was gonna say, you want to throw the map up so that we can see? So our little red.
Oh, I like ours better. Is that from the RMPA?
No,
Oh,
well, no. This is, do you remember there was the categorical exclusion for fire?
Oh, I don't remember.
Anyway, we will have to talk about this.
Yeah, but anyhow, this is, Paonia is right here, and it is in the withdrawal section. And there is Lamborn up here, so we don't have to worry about, once Congress passes it, we don't have to worry about the drilling.
And may I add to that?
Yeah.
I would like to give props to Western Slope Conservation
Yes.
Center because they have worked on this behind the scenes with Senator Bennett's office and the commissioners. And it's been happening for close to 10 years. It was this close to passing 10 years ago and it didn't. And so I just want to give a props to the Conservation Center. And though we always want things to be more, because obviously we want more protections, we're happy with the compromise that was made and it's a great step.
It's great,
Is that this map attached to the letter?
yes.
Okay,
that
if
was.
you could share that letter, that would be great to see that map.
Oh, sure.
Okay,
I
thank you.
forwarded it.
It didn't have an attachment.
Oh, they didn't go?
I don't know.
All right.
Sometime, anyway, I
Anyhow,
didn't
yeah.
see it, but that would be great to see that. Thank you.
Give it, send it all out.
I will, and I know that the Citizens for a Healthy Community were also at the meeting this morning.
Right.
And that they wanted some additional things added, but this is what the county had agreed on, so. It's something.
I am just, like I say, I'm amazed that the county commissioner signed this.
Yeah.
So I am so
Oh, there's
pleased.
some signatures.
Yes, there they are, all of them. So, yeah,
Unanimous.
so very.
Who would have thought?
Okay, any other announcements? Okay. Seeing none, we're gonna move up to public comment. Would anyone from the public like to make a comment about anything not under?
That was amazing to find out. I didn't know that they were even gonna get that far, like, at any point, to be honest.
Would you come up to the podium, state your name and address, and then?
My name is Robert Reynolds. I live on 418 Delta Avenue. I just recently moved here 2.5 years ago and have been absolutely falling in love with this town more and more ever since. Really, I'm here to actually introduce myself to everybody. I have recently gone through, I know we've had some issues with building inspectors and everything going on. I have actually been going to school for that and I've recently come upon my IRC certification. I unfortunately have only been able to find Stefan's email, and I'm sure he gets overwhelmed with emails. So I decided to come down and actually introduce myself and say, I would like to put my hat in the ring to help our community grow. Bring other communities in with it, because I know definitely probably not building a whole lot in this neighborhood and really able to do like a full building department. But between Paonia, Hotchkiss, Orchard City, and Cedar Edge, I would like to see people working together and promoting good growth, not overwhelming growth, and put my hat in the ring for replacing Dan Reardon, so to speak. And also just find out more and more about our town. I've been loving coming to find out more of it. So that's kind of where I was at with all of that.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome to Paonia,
Thank you.
2.5 years late.
Yeah, sorry, I haven't been able to be in that worried. Yeah.
Mr. Chuck.
Hi, Walter Check. I live up in the Middlebrook neighborhood. I just wanted to commend Mayor Cochran and congratulate her for surviving her term and say, on behalf of the town, thank you. I think you've done an amazing job in some difficult circumstances.
Thank you, Mr. Chuck. All right, anyone else want to address the board? All right, then let's move on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion for the consent agenda?
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So I saw that in the Arville Farmers Market, they want to, do we need to have it separately discussed to
We
waive?
discussed this, and
Okay.
because it's basically the same as it was in the previous years, correct?
Yeah, the additional, just because they're doing it for so many weeks, it becomes like a huge, almost insanely crazy, unnecessary chore to keep track of vendors. They've paid the rest of their fees. So I mean, if you wanted to insist, that's fine, but it takes place over 23 weekends, so.
Yeah, I had a couple questions about it too. I noticed the banner permit, which normally is in the intersection, but in this case, are they putting their banner at the sewer plant like they have in the past?
The only time we've done that in the past is when we have events that are going on. Since Arville Farmers Market takes so long, they've been extremely generous with other local events when they want to have it hung for a couple of weeks to move theirs, since theirs goes so long. That's just been something really nice that they've done.
Thank you, because, I wasn't paying attention and I just wondered what to do. Oh gosh, I noticed that their safety plan is out of date because of that highlighted, that they would take somebody that was hurt to the Paonia. And so could you elaborate on what do they plan to do? Would they call EMS, since we don't?
I think they're gonna do that. I'm actually meeting with Alicia again sometime in the next couple of weeks, and I'm assuming that's just gonna be changed to the West Elk Clinic and then DCMH. I think it was we just don't have the Paonia walk-in clinic anymore. So that was something that I caught and brought to her attention, so we just need to update it.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can I get a vote? Or do you?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent
thank you.
agenda.
Seconded.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion passes. Next up is the town administrator's report. Ta-da.
I do have one thing on the disbursements. That was the first time since I've been here that when I printed the approval report, everything matched. So it was wonderful.
Congrats.
Thanks. First report is the chief's report. I flipped it around.
Oh,
In
okay,
the presentation.
all right. Chief Lemminger.
Yeah, so the highlights for us, we had a new officer, we filled that position starting yesterday. So we're very happy to have him on board. His name is Bradley Markson. He'll be going through the FTO process. Quick reminder, as you guys remember, when we updated that inoperable vehicle statute we have, that goes into effect this Friday. We'll be contacting individuals around town who have an instance where that's going to apply to them. We'll be giving warnings and working with them, kind of let them know, especially since this has been updated and somewhat new. We'll give them plenty of time to make those adjustments and work on that. We also participated in the walk and roll audit, as did several of you. That was very good to meet with some of the community members. Not just for that audit, but just to get to spend some time with them and get some feedback from them on the other things that they're noticing. Traffic, whether it's auto, pedestrian, bicycles, it was very helpful for us. Yeah, we have that going. And the last thing is, I'll add that we're currently looking for a new victims advocate, if anybody is interested. That's paid for through a grant with the state, and we share that with Cedar Edge and Hotchkiss. So if anybody knows someone that may be interested in that, our current victims advocate will be retiring at the end of this month. So we are very much in need of someone interested. They can reach out to the police department. I'll fill them in on that. That's an on-call paid position, so please reach out for that.
We also provide a cell phone.
Any questions for the chief?
I have one. What is the ALICE program?
Alice is what the schools use for, in case of school emergency. It's like a lockdown drill. So we go up and participate in that, where the teachers will either barricade in a room or they'll evacuate the school. We just like to participate in that and kind of see how that's going to operate. And we've already identified several things by partaking in those drills that's definitely going to change our response and impact how we do stuff at that school. They do those quarterly at the school, so we like to be a part of those now and get some feedback from everybody involved with it.
One more question, and it's on page 45. You had an entry that an officer had to respond to an animal situation. I probably have the wrong wording. So I was just curious if that was a situation where it might have been a dog, and if that dog had had a town tag, would it have made it easier to deal with it?
I'll have to look at that specific case number, but yeah, if they have a tag, obviously those are much easier to deal with, especially if we can actually get our hands on the dog. We have contact information, that dog is registered to, or if they have vet tags or anything at all. If they have nothing, it makes it very difficult. But animal calls can vary from dog at large to raccoons to an injured deer, kind of run the gamut.
Thank you. Just a plug for the little medals. That's all.
All right, Trustee Swartz.
Yeah, Chief Laminger, I'm curious, like from your perspective, how are things in town from a crime and incident perspective?
Good for the most part. We're getting some of the same complaints that we get traditionally, which is not necessarily a bad thing in that people are still recognizing those things. We don't have a new wave of something new that we're seeing for the first time. So we still have our parking issues, our speeding issues, left turns on grants, and so the continual issue we deal with. So it seems like, particularly in the last 2 years, as soon as it starts to warm up, our population swells in town. We have more things pop up. Sometimes it's person-to-person conflict, sometimes it's just property issues that we have. But we try to schedule appropriately for that, increase our evening shifts, stack 2 officers on so they can help each other out if we do have issues. But right now, we got some.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, thank you, Chief Laminger. Now.
So I'm going to expand a little bit on some of the stuff that Matt has been doing with his department. I'm sorry, the chief has been doing with his department. Later on, I'm going to start talking about budget to actuals. So, by the way, town administrator's report includes budget to actuals. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay. It's colorful. So there you go. It's April showers, spring, May flowers, right? Or if you look out front, we already have flowers coming up. So I did give updates on the projects that we've been working on simultaneously, along with, like our comprehensive plan update, our short-term rental and ADU updates, all of the other things that we're also working on, including hiring. We're also in the middle of managing projects. So this is an update on our 2 million gallon water tank relining project. We were able to salvage that night, and I've reported in the past there's $935,000. That was incorrect. We actually salvaged $956,000 for an EIF Tier 2 grant. That's going to go towards an anticipated $2.5 million project for the finished water storage tank. There are 4 steps to phase 1. So we've also been involved with our capital improvement plan for water. The first is relining of this 2 million gallon finished storage tank, replacing the approximately 9,000 linear feet of 8-inch steel distribution main. That services not only in town, but also out of town. And then 3 will be raw water spring rehabilitation, and 4 is raw water metering improvements. While this is all going on, we're also working on a hydrogeological study, also grant funded as well. I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But this first phase is really this tank relining project. We've gone a long way to get to where we're at. We anticipate with the most updated probable opinion of cost from the engineer to be between $2.2 million to $2.9 million. So they've got this range of what it could cost. And that doesn't just include the relining of the tank, but it also includes acquiring additional property out at the Lamborn water plant, preparing that site to take a temporary storage tank, because once it goes offline to reline it, still got to get drinking water to everyone. So we have an 800,000 gallon temporary storage tank going up. And it's not what you're thinking. It's not like it's a steel tank. It's kind of pliable kind of a tank. And so it's not meant for long-term use. It's meant for the duration of this project. We take it down and, the new steel tank is ready to go. But we'll have, with that site work, a pad ready for a new tank, which is phase 3 of our capital improvement plan for water, where we talk about additional storage tanks up at Lambert. And Lambert is the right place to put it because of its elevation difference to the rest of town. So we need that. That helps with getting good pressures to everyone. That's why we have to have PRVs to back down some of the pressure. So we did salvage that $956,000 Tier 2 EIF grant. That was wonderful news. I'm glad to see that our regional DOLA director or manager was able to help us with that. That Dana really helped us with that to make sure that we still had it. So I'm thankful for that. And that was all predicated on us getting that 22 audit done. I did fill out a report today for the Conservation Trust Fund, certifying 2023. And for the first time in 7 years, it balances with what's in our bank account. So it's not a difference, it's reconciled. It took me a while and then got it done and had 2 hours before this meeting, so it was kind of nice. But so this tank relining project is still going on. We anticipate that it's going to go out to bid as soon as it comes out of P&A. The CDPHE has our project needs assessment in for review, and this is part of that package. Once it's approved, then we can get state revolving fund a loan to finish the additional amounts. So we anticipate going out to bid later this year or next year. That's just the way that this is falling because of our late fiscal year 22 audit. But it's happening. That's the important part. It is happening. This is an update on 5th and Grand. During our last meeting, you approved change order number 2 that brought the final cost of design to $183,734. That's the cost of designing to CDOT specifications. The reason for that change order, it was because we had to design, we needed an additional survey to verify monuments, establish temporary easements, find existing conditions, additional topographic survey between the bridge and the northerly limits of the existing survey, so that we could design an outfall for our storm sewer. And that reason for that was after a meeting with the Paonia Ditch Company, they didn't want us continuing the practice that we're doing right now and funneling that stormwater into their irrigation ditches. And so we had to find another way to outfall, and that's going up to the river. So that's why we had that change order. And that's why the design costs are so much. We have to meet those CDOT standards. This is also one that we have 2 grants in. We've got like a grant in for congressional discretionary funding, and then a backup with the US DOT RAISE grants. So we're trying to find additional funds to help see this project through. Now, we're not going to be ready to go for construction this year. This will be another one where the design will be done later this year. It should go through the FOR review with CDOT. That's about a 90% design review. And that means it's ready to go. We're really close to being ready to go. And then we can go out to bid. And it'll be later this year for construction in 25. This is something I guess we've been trying for 4, 5, 6, I don't know how many years, but it's been quite a long process. School board wants to see this done as well, and so does the county. So I think we're all in this to try to see this to the finish line. I know NIFSIS really wants to see it done badly as well. They routinely use that here in these nicer months to access the river park. So, okay, phase 1 capital improvement projects. Corey, you have your hand raised, but hang on, please. So phase 1 water capital improvement projects. We have approximately 1 3/4 mile of 8-inch steel water distribution pipe that's realigned and replaced, or needs realigned and replaced. What you're going to hear later tonight was another task order for construction design standards for both drinking water and wastewater. So in this report, I say, hey, well, simultaneously finalizing plans for the 2 million gallon finished water storage tank, working with a separate consultant on finalizing design for the 5th and Grand realignment, working with another consultant on a hydrogeological study to learn more about our raw water supply, and administering requirements of various grants. Town staff are also working with RESPEC on designing vital improvements to the main distribution line for the delivery of water to all of its customers, or all of our customers. And so this is taking a lot of field work, not just with consultants who have flown drones to get topographical surveys and photos, it's photogeometry or something like that. But it also then goes back to an office where they take those pictures, align them with LiDAR data, and make sure that everything matches up. So this is all happening so that we can understand where we need to realign our 8-inch steel pipe. Right now, it's going through a lot of private properties, and that's a really terrible practice. Something that had been done over decades and should never have happened. It increases liability to the town. Most of those, we don't even have agreements with the homeowners or property owners that we're running through. What is appropriate is to go through rights of way. And so it's easier to work with the county to obtain a right of way in places that we can. There are going to be a few areas where the right of way might be too steep or not enough to cover a distribution pipe that will have to go through some private property. But there will be an agreement or an easement at least in place. So that's part of what we're working on. And this is something that will benefit not just us here, right? This benefits everyone within our service distribution area. It makes sure that they have adequate pressures and that they're getting a clean delivery of drinking water. So it's been a really important project. It's one that I look forward to get started. But wow, there's a lot of meetings for this one. There's been a lot of GIS data that's been needed. There's been a lot of staff time that's been needed. And then we do have some process forward with this. So we do need to meet with each of our consecutive systems. Those are our water companies. We need to meet with them to collaborate on what needs to be done, where things need to go, what they can expect from us during this construction time. And we'll start having those meetings when we're a little bit closer to having something designed, knowing what rights of way we need to acquire. And so in order to get to that point, we have to get a little further along in design because I don't want to go to a water company and go, yeah, it's going to be over there. And then we get further along in design and it's their meter pit is no longer there. Their master meter pit is going to be somewhere else. So we're not there yet, but it's something that we need to start coordinating so that we can get cooperation from everyone so they can understand that this is going to be beneficial to everything. This project alone is seriously expensive. as of February 28th, our design costs alone for this project has been $99,486.24. That was at the end of February. We haven't yet, they haven't cashed their checks yet from invoices that came in March. Once they do, then I can book them. And so once those are booked, that number's going to go up. And I was talking a few meetings ago about needing purchase orders and helping with it, because that encumbers it right away instead of waiting till something gets done or a check comes in or clears before we can book it. So I'm working on that purchasing policy as well, so that once we encumber something, we know it's in the books. We don't have that money to spend anymore. Getting there. The last part of this is the town's code lacked updated construction and design standards for both its water system and wastewater system. And so tonight you guys are going to hear the only actionable item on the agenda is whether or not to move forward with a task order. We need it. So I'll tell you about it more during that agenda item. But the timing of that construction, these standards works really well with our municipal code rewrite. We can plug it into an appropriate field, probably within our building code. So, or even utilities, but it's something that we desperately need. And then finally, I was really proud of this. If you haven't seen it yet, you need to go to Town Park, but our Public Works Department put in this really neat concrete fieldstone river rock wall. So all of the stone is free. The only cost that we have in this is town staff labor time and a pallet of mortar, pallet or 2 pallets of mortar. But this is really to catch errant boards, give a more finished look to the skate park. It gave these are the projects our guys like to do. So they like doing construction stuff. And I think it came out really well. If you haven't seen it, please go look. I was pretty impressed with how flat the top is. So when you go take a look at it, and I know that North Fork Pool Park and Rec, they did a Facebook post about some of the cracks that you see in the ramps. And they explained it. They explained why those cracks are there. They can't do control joints because those control joints is where you want concrete to crack, right? That you're trying to give this control point for it to go to. But they said those control joints, they're larger gaps. And because of that, it can get wheels stuck in it and cause accidents. And so that's why there are stress cracks, but they assured us that the way it was poured was done correctly. It had wire mesh and rebar and everything. So pretty happy with it. Corey, you had your hand raised. You probably had something to add. You still there?
He's there.
Yeah, Stefan. So on the 5th Street realignment, there's a new business owner kind of right at the heart of that. And he was wondering if there's going to be more public comment time or if he would be able to ask questions or that. I got him most of the data that we have on it currently. Just not sure if there's more opportunity for them to.
Corey, I really would have liked this during the department head meeting this morning,
Yeah.
But we do have something planned coming up with our engineers. Once we get a little bit further involved into this, actually that final draft going in. Unfortunately for that property, there's a lot of it that's already within town rights of way and in that parking lot. And so we do need it. We need it for sidewalks but we'll go down that road when we get there. We're going to have a series of public meetings where our engineers will be here to actually present the project and why they had to do the things they did. So, but that is the end of that report. Now I'm going to go into this is the utility rate comparison that I presented at last meeting. I didn't have a mechanism to post it to the website, so I put it in this report, so it can be in my report up on the website. But then also, and I'm not going to go over it again, we already went over it. But we also do have additional information. So this is our first budget to actual. This is for the first quarter of 24. And you might see, oh, we've received no property tax or, auto taxes, we're missing out on a lot of revenue. Oh, you're right. That came in at the 1st of April. This is for the period ending March 31, 24. And it's unaudited. So that revenue has come in. It just hasn't been booked yet. So I wasn't going to put something that's, to try to bridge to reporting periods. Now, what I did want to show you, and I said a little bit about this earlier, was it ties into Matt's report to show that the police department is really on the ball with some things. Court fines to date, we had budgeted for $100. They have brought in $720. Now, they're not looking for things. These are reportable issues that are going to muni court instead of district court. County court. So these are things that we're utilizing our municipal judge to handle. The other item is police fines. So these are like tickets, things that they're writing for fines. They have already surpassed 50% of the budgeted revenue, and that's within the first quarter. So our police force is active, and I know that they have been making sure that people are following speed limit rules, not turning left on Grand into parking spaces, things like that. So they're involved. I want to talk a little bit about, let's see. We can go by each department. So really the percent at the very bottom right that we're looking for is close to 25% because we're 25% over with the year already. And so, if you see some that are way lower than that, I've got explanations for it. Mine, this administration department makes up clerk's office, my office, finance. And we did see some things that were being booked in kind of incorrectly. So like the breakout of insurance benefits for my insurance benefits should be broken up over also the 3 enterprise funds. And we'll have to make those corrections. We can do that before the end of the year. Shouldn't be an issue. Law enforcement, Matt needs to do some spending. So he's at the end, he's at 20% realized. Closer to 25% is where we need to be at. His salary and wages is almost spot on. That includes overtime. That was one of the other things that we found was overtime is being booked to salaries and wages. I'm really glad I did this budget to actual because we're able to correct these. And so now we'll be able to book it, take it, do a credit out of salaries and wages, and then debit the overtime line item number 13. And so we're able to do those things. That's the benefit of having budget to actuals. So it'll be more accurate. It's a helpful tool for budgeting, which we're going to start, in August, September. It's coming. So, but he's doing pretty well. And if you look under, like for these department budget to actuals, if you see something in brackets. That's been credited. So, for example, this operating supplies, he bought something from Amazon and returned it and got a credit. So there's a credit now applied to this account. And it was, I believe this one was from actually fiscal year 23 and then returned. And so that's why it's in this year as a credit. Okay. Building department. We're doing really well with the building department. So we have contract with the city of Delta for inspections. We still have Shooms Coda for plan review, but it's going through a group of plan reviewers instead of one singular person, and it's all digital. So it's easier to track. We're able to see things along in the process, and then feedback is given pretty quickly. There are some that are kind of slower than others, but that's because there's some back and forth on like ADA requirements for new commercial businesses. You have to follow ADA, and so that's where there's going to be some negotiation on what they can and can't do. So,
just a quick question: where do legal expenses fall out? Are they across different departments?
Yes. Yep. And so
is that considered contract labor then?
No. So there's an actual line item. It's the line item 20 for every department. So in this one, it's 104320,
Right.
and it's lumped in with legal, engineering, and professional services.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Streets department is almost right on task. They're lower, but that's because we've had employees that are out and not getting, well, Corey's unwilling. They've been out and like on leave, but unpaid leave, voluntary unpaid leave, that's what they wanted. And then we also have other positions that haven't been hired, but we've budgeted for the whole year. So he's doing pretty well in streets department.
The work they did on the backside of Bellite Park was awesome.
Thank you. That's good feedback for them. There's signs coming for there too.
Yeah.
So, telling people where they can and can't park. So Parks Department, even though all year long we're doing something, if it's shoveling a sidewalk or making sure that, we're also paying utility bills at the teen center so that's something I'll bring to y'all later about how we can better work with the volunteers that are helping with that to ensure that it's being managed appropriately. So, but you can see that they're still, the season hasn't ramped up yet, but there's still expenses coming out. Water. So this is one to kind of really look into. And so what I said for other departments where it's in brackets, and it's a credit. In this one, the brackets at the top is a debit because this is revenue. So this was something that was incorrectly booked to that department, so that we had to show it as a debit and a credit to a correct department, a correct fund. You'll look at our total revenue that we've received. We've received about 3% of it. What we've expected, and that's because most of it was coming from the state revolving fund. We haven't realized that loan yet. We haven't even applied for it yet. But overall, I'll get down to it at the bottom. Corey has been right on with, personnel services hovering about 20% instead of 20, we need that magic number is 25. Operating costs is like almost spot on, 26%. And then capital outlay is 0. And that's because we don't have anything being constructed. At the bottom, you can see this net income or loss. We do have this at a loss right now. And that's because of that first month where we didn't have rates implemented fast enough for that water bill. We did realize a loss. The good news is over the rest of the year, that number is going to come way down, and it's going to show a net income. So this next one I'm really proud of because we did some real hard work with sanitation solid waste. So sanitation solid waste, if you look at the revenue, it is spot on, 25%. That's where we want to be. Personnel services is far less, it's 14%. Operating expenses, spot on, it's 25%. And then when we get to capital outlay, of course, we don't have anything. But if you look at that bottom number, we currently are operating at a net income of $31,715.84. Now, yes, that's going to change. It's going to change throughout the year. It's going to come probably a little bit lower. But this means that we can start booking the depreciation line item so that we can start planning for the purchase of a new garbage truck when it's time, or major repairs when it's time, or software to help us track. This is a good thing. This is something that's historically been reported as over many years as, borderline insolvent, underwater, and the reality is it just needed some work. And so here we are. We're seeing the revenue. Yeah.
I just have a question about the dues and subscriptions line 31. Is that an allocation? The fact that it was budgeted for 2,700 and it's 5,400?
So I have to look at that one. I think there was something that needed to be readjusted to an appropriate line item. It may have been the professional management solutions, and that should have been legal professional services and not dues and subscriptions. But there's something there, and as long as we haven't gone over our total allocation, and we're gonna be okay. And so this is really good. I was really happy. I was really proud of this one. Wastewater. So wastewater is a little inflated, and so you'll look and say, hey, 38%, wow, we're blowing it out of the water. Boy, those sewer rate increases are helping us. No, we actually had the reimbursement for a DOLA grant for Doris Avenue come in this year instead of last year. And so it's been booked to revenue. So that's why that looks like it's higher than normal. And for the, we did have to add that grant revenue line item. So we could actually book it correctly. And that's something that changed with this budget year. So I'm pretty excited about that. That means that we're not underwater in wastewater, so it's a good thing to be. Almost pretty close to personnel services, 20% again, just like drinking water. Operating cost, we're at 13%. And capital outlay, we don't have anything spent. So right now, it looks like we have a net income of $224,000, but again, there was that huge grant reimbursement that came in, and that number will shrink, but it's still going to remain pretty high, which is it's a good thing because we have to show some sort of reserves. The good news going into fiscal year for fiscal year 23's audit, every sewer main that we replaced or did significant investment in becomes an asset. So it becomes a capital asset that really bumps up our final number for wastewater. So to show that we're actually improving our systems. So final one is the airport. It's the one I almost forgot about this one too, but I couldn't because we're booking revenue. We're actually receiving the lease payments that we need to be from the county. And we still are planning, I think my understanding is the county is still planning on moving forward with paving. I can't remember which apron, but that's coming. That should be done this year. So that is it for my report.
All right, other questions for the town administrator?
I just had one on the very first page, and I just wondered when the occupational marijuana pot shop occupational tax comes in. Is that quarterly? How's that? Does that go through the state and then back to us?
No, so that's that $5 transaction fee. I'll have to check with Michelle to see where that is and being booked. But we've been receiving it since January. She may just be backlogged trying to catch up. So I'll make sure that that's in for April.
And same thing for the sidewalk fee on 10/32/09.
I'll make sure that that's booked as well. Cool. Yeah, for April.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a few questions. So how's hiring coming?
I have a stack of resumes and applications on my desk that we're planning to call this week for interviews. And so that's for the town hall positions. As far as public works, once we finalize those job descriptions and get them posted, we already have a queue of applications that have come in for public works positions that we can go through, but we're not going to call anybody for interviews until it's posted. So I hope to have somebody hired before I go to the Colorado Creative District Conference in May. So.
May I ask another question?
Please.
Okay, and I'm curious about the $2 million or the 2 million gallon water tank relining.
Mm-hmm.
How is the purchase of the property coming? Does the landowner seem receptive?
Yeah, so the piece that we're talking about acquiring is, it's from the Rovers, because that's where we got the Lambert from. They're amenable to it. They're the ones that said, hey, this is a better area for us than, our hay field. And so that we're in talks with that. Corey has submitted an application to the county to begin that process of splitting it. So that, you have to do that. You have to go through their subdivision process to get that piece. And then we'll look at pricing down the road. We've got to acquire it.
So they're interested in selling it to us and not leasing.
Correct. Yeah. the area that we're, actually, I can go to this, you can kind of see it.
On that map.
So originally we had talked about the upper left-hand corner across the road, leasing that hayfield for the temporary storage tank. They weren't, that wasn't very palatable to them. And it's because, you know, they're gonna lose that hay for an extended period of time, and then we're gonna have to rehabilitate it. So it's still gonna be without that hay for an extended period of time. What was more agreeable to them was in just to the bottom left of the existing green storage tank, you can see those circles. That was more agreeable to them to acquire that piece of property there. And so that's what we're gonna be working on towards. And it's actually a rectangle, but you can kind of see the outline of the proposed temporary tank.
Other questions? Go ahead.
Okay, I have a question for Corey, if I may. Corey, how's it on your team? How's staff levels? How's morale? How's workload?
Morale seems pretty good. You can definitely feel that we're shorthanded, but yeah, the guys are still plugging away. We're trying to pick up what we can where we can, and everybody's just kind of pitching in, trying to help out where we can, you know. A lot of different guys picking up a lot of extra, so but for the most part I think morale's good. And
Thank you, Corey.
I do have to say that even though they're down 2 full-time positions, 3 because we've got 1 out on extended leave, this team has really come together. So guys that don't normally run on the garbage truck, get on the garbage truck. You saw them all in the picture building that wall. They're really on it. And we now have 3 CDL drivers. So, I mean, all of this we've got a really good public works team.
Anything else important?
Yes, I just had one. How are testing going for the ORC position? You know, are the staff able to do the ORC tests to get some of the rating?
You're talking about the next level of certification for water and wastewater operators.
Right.
Corey, can you answer that and where they're at?
yeah, so Jordan, last I checked, he was around 60% through his course. He was wanting to test in the next couple months. From talking to him, I still try to make sure that he gets ample study time. And he still is pushing to have that next level within the next couple months. So
Water.
Where's he at on sewer, Corey?
that would be for both. So he can actually be part of the wastewater currently, just not the water treatment.
What was that? He had done sewer?
For both, yeah.
For C?
Was it class C?
Yeah. Or,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you. Anything else?
Just a quick one.
Yeah.
As people attain these certifications, I want to make sure that our classifications, the way we look at salaries, that we're bumping them up so they stay competitive.
Thank you, because one of our other trustees sent me a job posting close by, and the salary is significantly higher than what we currently offer.
We gotta watch that.
We do.
If nothing else, then we're going to move on to actions and presentations. And agenda item number 1, the respect task order, drinking water and wastewater engineering and construction standards.
So this was the staff report that I gave you. I also sent an email before the meeting. But this is something that we desperately need. The timing is right. to get this to be incorporated into our comprehensive municipal ordinance update or revisions. By the way, those proposals are due Friday. So I anticipate having at least 2 firms bidding on it. There were 4 in our pre-proposal meeting. So I anticipate that coming. But we do have this, these are to create something that we can then codify for drinking water and wastewater system design and construction standards. The cost rate, and this is everything from the type of materials that are acceptable to us, the type of meter that you may use. Right now, we have such a hodgepodge mix of meters out with outside systems. They have different meters. So we currently use a Badger metering system. And we use, typically for residential meters, we use something called an M25 RTR Recordall or an M25 RTR HRC LCD or HRE LCD. So those are what we use. It's what helps us with doing our utility billing. It's the appropriate thing for our existing metering system. What we've got outside and with some other systems are meters that might be census meters or a completely different type of meter that isn't capable of having a radio read attached to it. And so this would set standards. This is what we're expecting should you want to join our water system, right? And then it would be the same thing for wastewater. This is the type of pipe that we're expecting for your service line if you want to connect to our main. That's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. This is the depth that you should put it at. This is the slope it should be at. So that's what we're looking at. We don't have anything like that, and we desperately need it. So that total cost, I think, was $21,600. Broken up between water and wastewater, so $12,000 around there in water, and then a $9,600 in wastewater. And so that's really what we're asking for you to do today. RESPEC already has really kind of, it shouldn't. The reason that this is cheaper than what it could be is because they've already been doing this for us with what they've been designing for the projects that we have going on. So it should be something that'll be in a format that's really easy to codify and get involved and get into our code review. So that's it.
Okay. Comments from the public? Okay, seeing none. Move forward. Questions, comments? Trustee.
A couple of things. First of all, when we have sewer breaks and things like that, will these standards come into that? So when someone's responding to an RFP or if it's an emergency repair, they know exactly what they're getting into and bids can be more accurate. Is what I'm hoping would happen in this.
That's the plan. So it would tell them what type of materials are acceptable. And so this would also put it incumbent on like somebody that's bidding on it to say, we're not going to go forward with this type of material, but this is the material we're proposing. They would also have to do an explanation of why this is an acceptable material. So,
and then the second thing is we require out-of-town water companies to comply with building inspection right now. Will they also be required to comply with these standards? I mean, there's a whole list of things there that.
Yeah. So in order to get that, and I know this has been coming up, but in order to get that, we really need agreements.
Yeah.
And not just bylaws.
Right.
We have to have agreements that say we're going to comply with these provisions, or not even comply, but we're going to cooperate and make sure that, we understand what's expected. And it would be the same thing for us. We understand what's expected of us, to deliver water. So it's kind of difficult to answer that. But that's kind of where we're at.
Well, let me add something more controversial. We've been talking about ADUs and STRs. Already we require out-of-town water companies to comply with building codes and building standards and get building permits from us. Why wouldn't that also? So I'm assuming there's a certain amount of cooperation we need with the county in order to enforce this, but ideally, if it was a perfect world, it would be nice if every single out-of-town water company complied with our meter requirements, complied with our design standards, complied with our codes for short-term rentals, ADUs.
Yeah, and I do want to give,
I'm an optimist.
so we do have one that has been really exceptional, and I might toot her horn for it. It's Linda Day at Hidden Valley. She's their treasurer. She sent a certified letter certifying the amount of users they have in their system. We found that she was right. She had been for the last 2 months, she had been overpaying and couldn't figure out why. It's because they have one more active user than what they were being billed for. And so we were able to take that, what would have been a credit, and apply it for a payment adjustment. She's all about being accurate, and that's what I'm trying to get with all of our meter billing. And so I do have to say, Hidden Valley, they're one of our largest, and they do have their problems.
Yes.
But it seems like their current board of officers is really agreeable to work with. So that's the goal for everyone.
I just wondered, with these new standards, will it supersede some of those standards that are in the appendix of the town code?
That's the plan.
Good.
Yeah, and that's why the timing is perfect for this municipal code revision as well.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And just a clarification, the 3 notes at the bottom in red, those are applied to the rest of the text. Add the following sentence, not to exceed expense, all of those are, okay.
Yes.
anything else? All right, if not, then can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion. I can read. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Respect Task Order to develop drinking water and wastewater system standards at a price of, what was the total?
$21,600.
Thank you, $21,600.
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed $21,600. It wasn't written, ding dang it.
All right, you have a second.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that motion
Thank
passes.
you.
Yes, thank you. Very much.
This came up in one of, this came up in one of our realignment meetings. I'm like, we should probably have standards. Yeah. Laura goes, yeah, we need standards. So there we go.
Okay, and last on the agenda is my report. As you have noted, it's a multi-page report.
It's an amazing
Usually
report.
have it done, and I went back through all the minutes. Back to April of 2020. To look at what the town has accomplished in 4 years. And it's not me, it's the town, and it's the board, and it's the people who work for the town and the administration of the town that has managed to do all the things that have been listed in this report. I did make an error in 2021. Approve the Living Farm Farmers Market. That is wrong. It's Arbol. So my mistake and my apology.
Oh, we all knew what you
To the council.
Yeah, I went, really? Did we do that?
We didn't do that. So questions, comments?
Well, first of all, hats off to you for a 4-year career. It's been really dedicated to the town, Mary. Thank you.
Mary, I have a question for
Yeah.
Mayor Bachran. Okay, of the almost $5 million of grants that are pending or awarded, how many of those were you participating in?
I wrote all of them, literally.
Okay, press, people online, Mayor Bachran wrote almost $4.9 million of grants that are pending or awarded.
I take that back. No, I didn't write the state internet portal grant. Corinne wrote that.
Okay,
I take that back.
so, I mean, that's significant.
Yeah.
For $200 a month, it's amazing.
You got a great return on investment. That's for sure.
I'll be honest, I use this, and this is now becoming part of my record because I need it to know where we're at. So
That would be great, yeah, to continue it. And
she's going to continue it.
so could you elaborate on the 50 million for the sewer treatment plant?
Oh, that's the state revolving fund. That is the estimate to replace all the tiles, sewer lines, and do the other upgrades to the sewer plant that you were looking at.
Is that associated with a mechanical plant and getting rid of the lagoons?
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
That is part of it, okay, yeah, because this is what came out of some of those engineering meetings. So it's part of that as well as doing all the pipe.
18 million.
Yeah, the pipe I knew, that was an astounding number. So people see,
Yes.
right now it's estimated $50 million for a new sewer plant and to replace all the clay sewer pipe in town.
So it's a big number. And the first piece of that has been put into the state revolving. So the next step will be for them to review it and then do the P&A on that and move forward on that as well.
Could you elaborate on what piece of it is in for them? Is it the replacement of sewer pipe?
No, it's the whole thing.
Oh, you put it in a request for $50 million?
Yeah, that's our request, is $50 million.
Well, we haven't actually started the revolving fund application. This is the project needs assessment.
Well, no, this is the very first step. This is where you go in and you go into the portal and you say, we want to apply for a loan. Here are the basics of what it is. And $50 million is what we put in for the basics.
What's the interest rate on that loan?
Not much, not much. And hopefully forgiveness will still be there when we get.
Whoa. Hey, bake sales, I see them.
Well, and that's the thing, a lot of this money from the CDPHE is coming from the bill grant, the bill funds. 2 years and those monies expire.
Right.
So we have got to get as much money as we can out of that fund while it's still here.
So for every dollar we paid you, we've gained 512.
I'd say, good return on investment.
Took me about 5 tries to get that.
How many years?
So I'll say, any other questions?
No, it's just amazing, Mary, so.
Well, it has been
Mayor
my,
Law.
it has been my pleasure to serve you, Tim. And I do hope that people have appreciated what I've done. Well, if there's nothing else that yes, Ms. Debs.
Sorry, I should have done this during announcements, but trustees, please remember next Monday, next Tuesday. It is the 16th at 5:30, board training with Sam Light from CIRSA and Dana, I can never say his name right. Thank you, from DOLA will be here. So please make sure to be here for that. It's going to be very helpful for you.
Okay, all right. Well, I am adjourning this meeting. Thank you, everyone.